Man, how do YouTubers talk and drive all at the same time? I am just way too worried about all these people coming into my lane, almost hitting me because they don't see my bright blue car for whatever reason. Anyways, what's going on, guys? How you doing? Hope you're doing well today. Today we are going to be getting the GR Corolla prepped and ready for another track day. And you guys are probably thinking to yourself, Anthony, you just spent 2 videos trying to get the car ready for Laguna. What more do you need to do? And you're right, I did spend 2 videos trying to get the car ready. But today I am installing a Mishimoto oil cooler. And the oil cooler was actually supposed to be shipped out to me early October, according to, the guy posting on the forums, the marketing manager or whatever, or social media manager, I don't know what he is, but it ended up being delayed and not shipping out to the very end of October. And obviously now it's November and the track day is at the beginning of December. It's literally the first weekend of December. So I would have had this installed back then, but now I have to install it now, yada, yada, yada. You guys don't care. If you just want to see the unboxing and install portion, I'll leave timestamps down below. But if you guys are wondering why I'm installing an oil cooler in the dead of winter, go ahead and stick around and I will tell you why. So yeah, let's get going. Alright guys, if you guys are sticking around and wanted to know why I'm installing an oil cooler in the dead of winter, the reason is here in Texas our winters are pretty mild. Yes, we do have some ice apocalypse type weather every now and then, but they are rare. If you guys remember in January, the beginning of the year, my very first track day, it was like a 50-degree track day. It was 54 degrees on track and my oil temps were still hitting 272. And that was like borderline red line according to the gauge displayed here. And now, if you guys are well aware or not well aware, engineering explains this very well. The hotter the oil temp, especially once it reaches that like boiling point or whatever it is, it basically becomes useless and you need to change your oil again because it's basically just destroyed all the additives that makes your expensive oil expensive, and you're basically left with like an Amazon basic oil. So an oil cooler is always beneficial, especially here where I'm at. Daily driving, probably not so much. If you're daily driving, you really don't need to worry about this. You probably just skip this video. But if you're interested anyways, here it is. They have 2 different versions for the oil cooler. Well, at least for the sandwich plate, right? There's one with the thermostat and one without the thermostat. The one with the thermostat is probably going to be your best use case scenario for most people because that keeps the oil cooler closed and shut off until your oil reaches a certain temp. You don't want it just constantly flowing and your oil never reaches the proper operating temp, right? So oil has a proper operating temp and there has an oil temp where it should not exceed. And well, basically with the thermostat, it keeps the oil cooler closed so that way your oil can warm up normally. And you're probably thinking yourself, that makes perfect sense. Why would you get the non-thermostat version? Well, that's because that one is basically meant for all-out race cars, right? Where the oil temps are basically getting up to temp probably after like 2 or 3 laps, depending on how hot it is and whatnot, yada, yada, yada. And, most race cars, they're usually not too worried about the cold weather because they're not driving their car in the winter like I am. So I definitely just recommend go ahead and get the one with the thermostat unless you have an all-out race car, which at this point I don't think anybody has a GR Corolla that is an all-out race car. So yeah, that is basically why I am installing the oil cooler in the dead of winter, because even in winter track days for me here in Texas, my oil temps still do get very high. Even in California where it was like 60 degrees, 50 degrees in the morning, it was still reaching 271 out there, and that's just too high for my liking. If I can keep my oil temps below 260, that's great. 260, 262, it's whatever. But if I can keep it under 260 with the oil cooler on a summer day, I am extremely happy. And hopefully that's what this achieves. So I'm heading over to Century Transmission right now. We're going to go ahead and put the car in the lift. Me and Mark are going to install the oil cooler. According to the Mishimoto video, it basically takes about 2 to 3 hours of install time depending on your experience, but it looks pretty straightforward. There is a slight bit of cutting involved to route the lines, but other than that, it shouldn't be too difficult. You could probably do this with some minor tools in your garage because I believe the lines come pre-assembled. So yeah, guys, enough of this rambling. So let's go ahead and get the car in the lift and we will get this day rolling. So we're here at St. G Transmission. As said, this is the unboxing. The kit itself comes in a box like this with all of these in it, obviously with its own separate bags. They didn't just come all willy-nilly. So first off, we are going to have the oil cooler here. It is a side feed oil cooler, which once you look at it, it's actually painted on the wrong side because I have to go this way. And obviously, well, you're gonna tell me flip it upside down. Well, if I flip it upside down, it becomes a W
for Wumbo
instead of an M. So Mishimoto, that's a mistake on your part where you will not be getting your advertisement done because I on my car.
Definitely 5 o'clock job.
Yeah, somebody painted that at 5 o'clock on a Friday, and they were like, "Oh, I'll let that person deal with it."
On the last day.
Oh. And then here we have the bracketry. Obviously, this is going to have to mount. The bumper is going to have to come off. This is for the top right here. It bolts to somewhere on the cross member. And then you have the side mount, which mounts it from the bottom and attaches to the side of the, the latch. Then you have the hardware, you have the sandwich adapter plate, and then the little adapter. You have the two AN fittings, which come in a separate bag. I just went in and put those on. And then you have two -10 AN fittings. Very simple kit, looks very straightforward. It does look like the only thing that's going to take us a little bit of time is that we are going to have to cut holes into the radiator shroud that forces the air into the radiator so that way the lines can go through. But other than that, Mishimoto's website states this is a 2-hour job, a 3 out of 5 wrench difficulty. So it shouldn't take us too long, hopefully. But anyways, here we go. We're going to go ahead and get the car in the air, and then I'll show you what to do once the bumper's off.
I like a video your video.
Okay, so once the bumper is off, just going to go ahead and take, what is this, a 14, and pull off the crash beam. And this is basically where it's going to go. The bracket is going to mount right here in the one spot, and then it provides a nut and a bolt for this other spot. Unfortunately, I am going to have to relocate or just completely remove this one hellahorn because it is now in the way. But yeah,
Horns
so
don't
far...
need race cars.
Horns don't need race cars?
Yes.
You sure you got that one right there?
Hey, if Mishimoto can fuck up like that, I'm alright.
Okay, that's a good point there. All right, so go ahead and remove this, and then we'll go ahead and line up the oil cooler, and then this right here is gonna have to come out, and you're gonna have to trim this right here is what I was talking about earlier, but I'm gonna get that onto the light and show you. And once you get the crash beam off, you're gonna want to unpeg this little bracketry right here. I guess that forces more air from the bottom up into the radiator. Honestly, this thing has a lot of good air direction towards the radiator. No wonder I don't ever have any overheating issues with the coolant itself. It's always just the oil cooler. Oh. All right, so once you get this untabbed, you're just gonna want to snake this piece out after you unclip it from the top. So once you do that, pull it out, and then I will go ahead and just kind of show you footage from Mishimoto where they want you to cut it. So before we go ahead and put that plastic trim back on, they want us to mount the oil cooler itself. So you're gonna have to take out the 10mm that holds up the latch. There is one side with a threaded on there, so that got to go behind, and then this, I guess, in front. And then just bolt that down with the supplied hardware, and then we will put up the intercool, or not the intercool, the oil cooler from there. Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier. This is how they painted it on. And as you can see, if they want the M to be facing the correct way, it can't because the fittings are facing the wrong way. They have to face towards the passenger side. So then you get no M, but if I flip it, I just get a W.
You know what the problem is?
What?
You got it set to M for Mini. when it should be set to W for Wumbo.
So Mishimoto, sorry, you guys painted this wrong, so you get no support in terms of like logos being faced out of the front bumper. So just go ahead, take these supplied nuts right, or bolts right there, and then just kind of loosely put this on, and then hopefully everything lines up correctly with the plastic trim that we cut. And then once you have this lined up, just do the 13 bolts up top, 2 10mm up here, tighten those down, and then you have this side bracket right here where it just kind of bolts into the latch itself with 2 holes that were already on the latch, nut rivets, nut, bolts, and washer. And then go ahead, 13 at the bottom, and then that is all mounted up. And then just go ahead and loosely put in the plastic pieces so that way you can route your lines to the bottom of the car. Okay, you're just going to want to go ahead and route the lines through here. Mishimoto recommends you bring it all the way down to go underneath the intercooler pipe, and then you're just going to go ahead and then try to line up the hose fittings. So hopefully they just kind of match up to the holes we made right there. This does take a little bit of finessing, so take your time, don't crack the plastic, and just be careful. Okay, so once you test fitted the lines and they all fit, luckily ours was cut right on the very first go, so not too bad, all the lines are it. Just go ahead and take your -10 wrench or the millimeter equivalent and tighten that down.
All 16ths.
Or in all 16ths. And then from there you are basically done with this down here or up here. Then you go down to the bottom, and then we will install the sandwich adapter plate.
And before y'all criticize me for using a crescent wrench on AN lines, we don't care. Like, you're not gonna see it. We don't care if the freaking thing gets damaged or
Exactly. The
marred.
AN wrenches are basically just specifically there so it
They're
doesn't,
aluminum, so it doesn't
yeah,
mark.
so it doesn't scratch it or not. But even then, like if you have an old set, they could still scratch. But
yeah, exactly.
you can't see it anyways. It's not going to damage the fitting itself. It just scratches it. So, okay, so obviously the first thing you're going to want to do once you're down here is go ahead and remove the oil filter. Then you will take the sandwich adapter plate, go ahead and put a little bit of oil on the O-ring side of the adapter plate. Put that in the same direction along with the adapter nut or key, and screw that into where the oil filter would screw into. Just, they say, kind of loosely put that on so that way you can like kind of wiggle it around to where you can put these on. They recommend, or not recommend, they say that you use the top line from the one that connects to the top of the oil cooler to the fitting that's at the front of the car, and that the bottom line connects to the back fitting of the car. So that is what they recommend. Once again, we're just going based off what they say. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and put this phone down, help Mark align these lines, and then we'll get right back to you guys. So obviously, once you go ahead and have the lines routed up, once again, they want the top one to be in the front and the bottom one on the rear. I think that is mainly due to the thermostatic one. I think if you have a non-thermostatic one, it shouldn't matter which one's which. But we did fight to get the top one to be on the front just in case. Also, quick note, I'll probably edit to add in the beginning. There is one line that is 15 millimeters longer than the other. So make sure that one is on top so you have the most slack. And then once you get that done, go ahead and tighten this down with a 27 millimeter bolt or socket. Hopefully you guys have a 27 millimeter socket. That is a pretty big socket for a random person to have. And then go ahead, reapply your oil filter, start the car, top it off with some oil. Obviously, you are going to have to add probably about another half a quart to a quart to accommodate for the oil cooler itself. But just go ahead, top it off, leave everything unbuttoned, let it run for a little bit, make sure nothing leaks. And then once everything is set and sound, go ahead, button everything up, and you are good to go. So yeah, we're going to go ahead, let it start, warm up for a bit, make sure there's no leaks, and then we'll get right back. All right. So we were letting it run for a bit, and it does look like this line is leaking from right here. I don't even know like if we can tighten that up or something, but I'm definitely gonna have to contact Mishimoto about that and let them know that it's leaking from one of their lines. But man, that sucks. I mean, there also seems to be a slight leak coming from this Allen key right here as well. So it's well over a week now after a couple days of going back and forth with Mishimoto's customer service. Now, mind you, that was through emails, not through a phone call. Had I possibly made a phone call, if they even have a customer phone call service line, it might have yielded a quicker return time on this. But with my work schedule, I just didn't have time to be sitting on the phone for like 30 minutes or an hour with my meeting schedules. Anyways, they do take a long time to respond to emails and whatnot, but here we go. We finally have it after like 2 days of questions like, when did you buy it? Where did you buy it from? What car? Yada, yada, yada. They initially wanted me to pay to have the line sent out. And I'm like, no, this line came to me defective. Why should I have to pay for it? I could understand if this was like a year later or whatever. And that they wanted me to pay for it, you know, like, or I guess 90 days or 30 days, whatever their warranty period is. Like, I could maybe understand if like they were just charging me a little bit to get a new line sent out. But like literally I installed this and it started to leak instantly. Like you guys saw the video, right? And then they're like, oh, well, when did you install this? Because you said you bought it, you know, this September 1st. I'm like, yeah, it was a pre-order. I didn't install this until like just now or like 2 days ago whenever I started messaging you guys. And it's like, oh, okay, well, let me get with the team. Another day passed by. It's like, okay, well, it looks like the team has agreed to just go ahead and ship out the line for free this time. You know, we will send you a goodie bag for your troubles, yada, yada, yada. It was like literally just a bag and some stickers, like, I guess. Whatever. I got the lines. This is what I most cared about. That little NPT plug, I could probably just put more Teflon tape to stop that from leaking. But yeah. Anyways, guys, the shop Garage Guys has been bugging the crap out of me on when I can get my car back or out of their lift. So anyways, I'm gonna have to call an Uber, and then let's go ahead and head over to Garage Guys.
Can you move close to it?
That's all good. So this is my Uber that's gonna take me to my Corolla. Appreciate it, Tony, giving me a ride. So we're gonna go ahead, take a ride out to Garage Guys, and then yeah, let's go ahead and check on my car. All right, and we are back here at Garage Guys Automotive. We have the new line set it up. I did have a mistake in the first part of this video because like I just kind of followed the video and I didn't glance at it afterwards. So they showed the video where it was straight down when they tightened it, but like later on the video, without actually saying anything, they actually ended up rotating it like, I don't know, like, I don't want to say 45 degrees, maybe 45 degrees to the side, because otherwise it won't clear this little panel out here. But the whole reason I took off the panel right now so we can make sure we can get a torque wrench in here tight enough to tighten it down. I believe they recommend 30 something foot-pounds. I'll put it right here. I'll look it up, but they recommend a certain foot-pounds, and our torque wrench didn't quite fit so well. But yeah, hopefully the new line is we're going to spray it down with some brake cleaner, get the car running, and hopefully everything is okay. So let's go ahead and find out. All right, guys, so we have it running. It's been running for about 5 minutes now, and yeah, so far so good, right, Mark?
Yeah, it looks good.
Looks good.
There's a bunch of residual.
There's a bunch of residual. We just want to make sure that like it's just not stuff vibrating off or like where it was left over, because when we opened up these lines and oil filters, a whole bunch just started dripping everywhere. And so we're just making sure everything is dry. Hopefully you guys can hear me. If you guys are also wondering, this is the factory oil cooler that they were talking about that the car has, and that is beefier than the GR Yaris, but honestly,
that's got a hot coolant right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like the SCI, that's how they had their oil coolers too. And just like Hondas have coolant running through there.
It'd be really cool if they ran a Freon through that.
Ooh.
That'd be something cool. But then how are you gonna regulate that and so on and so forth?
So yeah, you know, and so yeah, so far so good. It definitely just seems like mine was like a freak accident, but just know that it is a possibility that can happen brand new right out the box. Not after like 2 track days, not after 1 track day, not even after just driving around. It happened to me right out the box. But Mishimoto, after a couple of days of back and forth, were able to send me out a line. Mark's over here double checking everything, making sure it's all right. But other than that, it looks like we're good to go. So if I don't have anything to add at the end of this video, I'm just gonna go ahead and end it here. And yeah, the next video, I'll be installing a few more parts for the upcoming GR track day that I'm going to out in Eagles Canyon. But until next time, guys, later.